When we go to the Effects Esoterica menu and choose Make Mosaic and Tessellation, we will find a very robust, full-featured option that might as well be a standalone application. We'll need our clone source panel open beforehand and our color variability panel. Show 0 variability. Let's see what we can do here. We can apply tiles with a tile color that we can choose from this color picker. We can change the color of the grout. So let's make some blue tiles against a purple grout. We see that clone color is checked, so that means color is coming from the current pattern because I don't have an actual clone source indicated. If I change to a different pattern, I'll get a very different effect with colors coming from that pattern. I'll uncheck clone color, so now I will get my blue tiles. And notice there's a certain amount of variation in the shape of each of these tiles. They're mostly rectangles, at least four-sided. When we go to our randomness collection of sliders, we can reduce that variation by moving everything down to the left, and here we have a much more regular course of tiles. I like variation, so let's move those up a little bit again. Back to dimensions. We can make some narrow tiles if we use the width slider and move it to the left. We can make wider and shorter tiles by moving length to the left, and now we have that kind of collection. So there's a lot of variation possible. Pressure is going to give us another kind of look, and the thickness of the grout will be changed as well. So lots of choices for these. We can remove tiles one at a time, or we can remove an entire course of tiles. We can change the color of a tile. Let me switch to an orange, and now I can make all of these orange. If I have my hue and saturation and value, or some combination there, raised a bit, then I can make for some variation in those colors. I'll move those down, but not all the way to the left. I can darken a tile. I can lighten a tile or a string of tiles. And I can tint, which will allow me, given this is the orange now, if I drag over some of these tiles, I will be adding some amount of orange. Variation. Here's where color variability comes in. Once again, we are going to create variation within that string of tiles. Click OK, and by the way, this is a dynamic effect, meaning that this is a RIF file. As long as you keep it as a RIF file, you can always open it up again and have access to the same command so that you can remove tiles, add more tiles, change their color, and so on. But now I'd like to establish a clone source, and we're going to use Pumpkin Pile, which I have made available to you in your working files folder. And now it's showing up as the clone source. Let's make a clone copy so that we will have an exact sized image, and then we can simply select all and delete. And now if I go back to Make Mosaic and Tessellation, which is waiting for me at the top of the list, I can invoke clone color. I can begin then to apply tiles. And I'll use tracing paper so I can see in which direction I should make my tiles. It's always good to follow the contours of the shapes. So let's apply tiles, and I think I'll use some larger tiles in the front. Maybe that's a little too big. And smaller tiles in the back. And I can maneuver any of my other variables in order to make this work out. I'll just get you started, and then I will show you the results after a little bit of work was done. And also for smaller tiles, and then I would just kind of go in there and scribble around a little bit so that I just get a amorphous look for the straw. And let's just see what happens without tracing paper, what that looks like. Let's see it with a dark grout. That's pretty dramatic. And I'm just going to click OK for now because I know I can always go back to it, and I will show you the results of a finished look. So here we have Pumpkin's Mosaic 2. And you'll notice that these tiles have a 3D look, and I'll show you exactly how that was done. We'll go back to our work in progress and open the Make Mosaic and Tessellation once again. If I want to create that 3D effect, I need to go and render to mask. Click OK, and now I will find my way to apply surface texture, which is in the surface controls list. And so with apply surface texture, now in addition to the usual options, I have mosaic mask, and look at the effect there. I have to invert it in order to make the tiles look like they are standing up away from the grout. I can increase shine, and so when I click OK, this is the effect. We haven't talked about tessellation yet, so let's go back to Make Mosaic and Tessellation, and let's clear all of these tiles. Let's go to Make Tessellation. We can choose from pieces, cracks, and triangles. I'll choose pieces. We can have them spaced evenly, randomly, or use clone, because that will have some effect. We can add 500 points at a time. Let's add a whole bunch of those. And now when I apply, I am, in fact, getting tessellations, which are these polygon-shaped tiles, using the clone source, which, since we're not using pumpkin, is going to be the current pattern. We can also get a 3D effect on these tiles if we use the Render to Mask option. That is your introduction to mosaics and tessellation.